show you how you can cut a fun modern pixie haircut in just 5 easy steps. What I like to do before every haircut is use my L'Oreal Color 10-in-1 multi-purpose spray. It's a great detangler. It also has great heat protection up to 450 degrees. It's a great product. It also adds shine, and what I love most about it for Texas is that it provides frizz protection from our humidity. Before every haircut, it's very important to create your sectioning so that you know exactly where you're going to go for the haircut. And since this haircut has 5 steps, there's 5 sections: the back, the crown, the sides, the top, and the fringe. So I'm going to section that for you right now. So what I've done is I've sectioned it into our 5 steps: the back, the crown, the sides, tilt your head down for me, the top, and the fringe. Let's get started. Step 1, the back. Cutting the occipital bone here and around the parietal ridge. Under the occipital bone, I'm going to make my fingers a 45-degree angle, but up here I don't want any bulk, so I'm going to change it to a 90-degree angle. I'm going to do that all the way through till I get to my next section. Now we're going to move to step 2, which is the crown. Now the crown is a very complex area for the majority of people because of cowlicks and where the crown is. So as you can see, Dana has a cowlick right here, which is where her side part likes to end. So I want to make sure to leave some length over the crown so that I can play with it when it's a dry haircut and figure out what I want to do and not have any short pieces that are sticking up. Her actual crown is over here on the right side, so I want to leave some length over there to have some wriggle room when it's dry. So for the crown sectioning, it's a circle, so I'm going to take a vertical section in the middle of the circle because I don't want to build up weight, and I want it to be a nice, clean, round layer. So I'm going to stand to the side to show you the shape. But then I also want to have a little bit of texture, so I'm just going to point cut a tiny bit when it's wet. I'm going to take vertical sections for the rest of the circle, one here and one here. And then also the same on this side. Sections are step number 3. What I've done here is because she has a low side parting, go ahead and tilt your head down for me. Right here, I have the top divided into 2 parts, the majority part and the minority part. So here, I'm just pinning it up out of the way so that it doesn't get confused with the side sectioning here. So we're going to cut the side sectioning at a diagonal because I want to make sure that there's length left around her face. If Dana wanted a super modern undercut, you would continue this section all the way through to the front of the hair. But she likes to have a little bit of softness in front of her ears because she likes to tuck it behind her ears. So I'm going to do a diagonal back section. I'm going to lift my guide here from the back and then pull my fingers out at a graduated angle because I want to leave the top a little bit longer. I know that her hair does flip in this area, and if I cut it perpendicular, it'd be way too short. My point cut because I want her outline to be soft. So I'm connecting my guide from the back to create a new guide for this side section. I'll take my next diagonal back section and over direct it to the previous section. Over directing is a great way to have a little bit of insurance to leave the hair a little bit longer. That way, if it's too long, you can always go back and cut more off. And this is Dana's hairline. I want to leave that out. I want to make sure that there's plenty of length, and so when it's dry, I'm going to address that in my dry cutting. So this is the last section. I've over directed it back to the previous section, and I'm just doing some point cutting. I'm going to comb it down and see how it looks over her ear. And you see the over direction created a diagonal line towards the front. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So we're moving on to step 4, and that's the top section. So as I mentioned earlier, we've divided the top into 2 sections, divided by her parting here. So I have the small side of her parting and then the large side over here. And so I want to leave some length on the outline over here. So I'm going to make it shape where it starts out curving and then it curves up towards the ends. And the same on the parting on the other side where it curves up but then gets longer on the ends. So how I do that is I'll take my section. I like taking diagonal sections because it overlaps on the previous hair and you can always see your guide that way. Now I'm going to do this little section over here. There we go, now you can see. Bring it up over here and just taking off, adding that shape that we talked about before where it goes short to long. Now we're going to move on to step 5, which is the fringe. And this is where you kind of can customize it for the client. If she had a center parting, you could do the curtain fringe, but Dana likes to have a low side parting, so we're going to do a sweeping fringe to the right side. And so how I do that is I'll take my triangle section here of the fringe, and I want it to be disconnected. This is a very modern haircut, and if everything blended perfectly, it wouldn't be fun and funky. Okay. So I'm taking from the point of the triangle here down through to the hairline and establishing my guide. And I'm just going to take a little bit off the top. Let me just move you around this way so you can see. The next section is that same diagonal through the triangle section, and I'm going to bring it back to the previous. I want to take all my sections back to the original guide. That way it makes sure that there's a lot of length on the ends, and then when it's dry I can go back and texturize it. And what I want you to keep in mind is that, as you can see, here's her low part. And I'm not holding the fringe straight up or to the side over here. I'm holding it all back parallel to her parting. That gives us enough over direction to swoop over to the side. It's important to check your balance to make sure that the haircut's even. And then also, what I like to do when it's dry is check the outline. And that's important around the ears and around the nape and especially the fringe, but I like to wait till it's dry. The fun part about drying is the fun products we get to use. So I'm going to start using the Volume Envy Extra. It's a Force 5 mousse. What I like about it is that it's a firm mousse, but it's not heavy on the hair. I want to use a product called Transformer Texture, and this is a really cool product because it comes out as a gel, but when I rub my hands together it becomes a foam. It's a Force 3 and it's great for volume, movement, and for showing the texture of the haircut when it's done. Texturizing technique that you can use when you go to the salon is using the thinning shears, and you just want to thin the bottom section of the hair. Do you see how it's a little bit full right here? If you take your section, I'm going to stand this way so you can see. And you just kind of thin out the bottom part of the hair. And what that does is it leaves the length on the top, but yet when it blends down to the other part of the hair, it's seamless.